So I'm gonna restore this Emerson Electric 77648 fan, mainly because last month I restored this Emerson Electric 77646, which is identical except for the fact that it has 6-inch blades as opposed to the 77648 that has 8-inch blades. But when I started on this one, it was this same freaking ugly brown color that I do not know why was so popular in the 40s or 50s, whenever this was made. These are amazing fans. They're quiet as hell. I'll turn this one on too. Which is pretty cool. Alright, so taking one of these things apart. So one of the things I like about this fan is the fact that you can take the whole thing apart pretty much with a flat blade screwdriver and a pair of pliers. So your first step is you unscrew this back here. That does is loosens this up, which exposes the back of the fan. So then, once you've got the back off, you have to stick a screwdriver in this hole here because there's a nut on this thing that's notched, and when you hold it, you can spin off the blade, which is threaded counterclockwise, opposite of normal. And there you go. There you got your blade. Beautiful shape. All right. Next, take off your front cage, which is just 4 nuts. That takes off that blade, guard I should say. Okay, so this, you just have to take out this screw. From the side, and then this. Comes out like that. So then you go down to the bottom. These two are holding the switch on. So to remove the plate, because the screw with the switch lines up with the switch. So see. So, first, and then that plate comes off, and that bracket comes off, and your screw, and then you go in here where there's 2 little screws, and you unscrew this one, this one. Once that's out, there. Then you got to figure out your wiring, because as you'll notice, you've got 2 wires here, one that come from a 2-wired cord. So one goes to the switch, one goes to the motor, and then you have a 3 cord where one goes to the switch, one and one goes over to here. So you actually have one attached to this, but you have two different attached to that one. So, as I said, you got to keep everything straight. So what we're going to do is get some tape. Just so I can keep these things apart, I like to mark my wires. So, black wire is number 1, which attaches to this red wire, which is also number 1. I do this because I'm going to replace these cords. And then once the red wire comes through, it is still number 1, as is half of our power. So then you got your yellow one, call that 2, which goes to gray, call that 2. Gray comes out here, and this then becomes 2. Red cord number 3 attaches to the black, which comes down here, and this is also 3. And then you've got the other side of the power, which we'll call 4, over here. Hope that sticks on. And last but not least, you have 5 over here, and also is over here. So then, once all that's done, take your wires apart. So let's return to this. As you can see, you've got 4 nuts on this side holding it in. I think the first thing I'm going to do is remove the handle. Okay, you can remove this because it's a simple spindle. Make sure you save all of your washers. Very nice looking. Okay, so now, if we unscrew these, and this comes off very nicely. And then you'll see there's nuts holding in the motor. So you gotta put your finger on the nut and unscrew the bolt. All right, so now you can simply push the motor out like that. And see how that's locked in? That's where you just grab this weird nut, undo it. Ugh. What a freaking mess. Always keep your washers. Very important. And then the motor comes right off with washer still attached. Spring. What this does, believe it or not, is it takes oil down through that hole there that you put through a little special oil thing and takes it right to the axle, which is awesome. Okay, that comes off. And finally, that comes out. That's your oil inlet. And that's it. This will be important because this is the serial plate, shows all the information. This stuff, these get painted, believe it or not. Anything on the outside of the fan is going to be painted, so got to kind of remember where the paint goes and where it doesn't. So you get that. Another very nice washer. Hard to find these friggin' things. These unscrew. So that's it. Pretty much. You got it taken apart. Here's another one. That normally has a flat blade screwdriver set screw, but somebody put in an Allen wrench one. But anyway, if you look at this thing, all it is a gearbox, and this is all grease. And I don't know if I'll take this apart. I might, because it doesn't get painted, because it's inside of this shell, so you never see it. So this gets painted, but this doesn't. So for now, I think I'm just gonna take this piece off, and then I'll photograph this, photograph the badge on the front, because I redo the graphics. And that's that. Now is I have to put in a box the things that are going to go to the sandblaster powder coating place that I use. So we shall now get a box and a piece of cardboard. So now I've got to box up the things that are going to be sandblasted and taken to the sandblaster and the powder coater, which is anything ugly brown, which is 1, 2, ugly brown, 3, 4, 5. Doing the cage also same color as the fan. The blade is going to be sent to a brass place. Blade over there. Cage goes in the box. And then you got to do your screws. So there you go. Those are the screws. It's painted. I want to paint these 4 because you're going to see them. So there, everything you see outside the fan all goes to the shop. Now, this cage is going to be painted gray, and as you can see, it's held on by little clips on the back. Comme ça. God, it's got cardboard behind it. Crazy. Anyway, there's the badge. Looks pretty nice. It's in good shape. And that's everything that's going off to the painters. So So here we have all the pieces post-painting. I had to spray paint the fan because brass plating was too expensive, but I powder coated everything else. And we're ready to put this guy back together. Okay, so to put it back together, do everything in reverse. Starting with the wiring. Here we have our 3 wires. There we go. This is 2. The ones that are already soldered in, I don't like to unsolder, so there's 5. So okay. We need to screw in Then you do the same thing over here. Get this one. Screw this down. Two and 3/5, whatever that is. All right. Take this one. Okay. Now and you have to take this piece and you take this bracket nicely over the battery like that. And then these are the ones that hold the bottom on, and these hold the bottom on, hold this to this. Through here. Goes on there, it goes on there. Once you have your little square nuts in those channels, you can just tighten them on the outside. This is a piece of black foam that I am going to glue onto the bottom of that. And you notice it's bigger than it needs to be, so we'll cut some corners. Till it looks like that. Okay, then. Okay. You'll notice that these 2 screws that hold this down go under this. The 2 that hold the plate to the bottom are going to go through it. So. And when you're done, just like that, your bottom's nice. Now, I'm going to screw this back in. I'm going to put that in. And then we can tackle the top. Start putting this bad boy together. Littlest screws go first. So what I'm doing is I'm screwing this piece into these 2 holes. All right, so when that's done, it looks like that. You get your 2 screws, you get your 3 speeds, and then you can button up the bottom. So, at this point, looks like this. You've got your control cord that goes up to the motor housing, and you got your power cord. Now, we have to put this back together. Starting with our 4 screws and 4 nuts. I like that. Lines up perfectly. Which you thread these 4 things. Washer back on. And our motor. And we put this baby on. This is going to go over. So, you put a grommet over this. Believe me not, that's the hardest thing to do. Once your grommet is on, this goes through here. The grommet pushes into there. And we go over here. 1 is black, 2 is white, 3 is green. Okay, so I discovered you got to make sure that the wires go out this side. Then you put on your 4 screws. Now comes the big test. The back. Basically, this goes in here, comme ça. Gotta make sure that the spring goes over that. So it looks just like that. Then you take this assembly, fit it on. Looking pretty good. Should have 3 screws. 1, 2, and the 3rd one's down here. right? Which is then. So now you back this off. You fit it onto here. And then you tighten. So then it should look like that. So now you see this little hole down here. That's this screw. This goes here. This just screws in. So that's what you get at the end. Sure. All right. Now we got this. And then you have 4 gray nuts. So then you got that. Finally ready for the final assembly. We have all of our bits and pieces after a color change decision. So let's see how this goes together. First, you have to put on your front cage over there. Just like that. With these 4 nuts. That's on. Then you stick the screwdriver down. Get this on here. Okay, once you've screwed the blade in, you can then hack up the back, put this screw back in, and attach the handle. Come at the front. And there we have it.